Hey, it's Dr. Fox. Let's grow some food. This is an individualized lesson from lesson number 1 about seeds. We're going to cover the family Solanaceae. If you have never had a homegrown tomato, boy, are you in for a treat. And when the season is done, you can put them in the oven and dry them. And if done right, they'll last a long time in your refrigerator. Since this lesson is about seeds, I thought we'd look at some seed catalog pages here, because you need to know how to read a seed catalog, and there is a specific language that is common to every seed catalog, and you need to understand what these things are and mean. Notice that some of these names have F1 next to them. That means that they're a hybrid, not to be confused with genetically modified. There's a huge difference. Hybrids are when they cross one variety with another in order to select certain traits. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting hybrids. Sometimes you need them depending on your environment, but you should know that you can't save seeds from hybrids because they will not breed true. You never know what you'll get. The next thing you'll see next to the name is a number of days, and that's the average number of days it takes from the time you plant your transplant to when you can harvest tomatoes. Depending on where you live, you might have a long season or a short season. So if you've never done gardening, get something with a shorter season, because it will be very disappointing if you don't get any tomatoes the first time you try. Heirloom seeds have been protected in their bloodline, so they've been the same for a long time. I prefer heirlooms, and you can easily keep those seeds and save them yourself. You may encounter the term habit when it comes to vegetables. That means how the thing grows. With tomatoes, there are two main types of habits: determinate and indeterminate. A determinate tomato will get to a certain height and it will stop growing. An indeterminate tomato plant will continue to grow and grow and grow until the frost kills it. Now, the advantage of a determinate type is obviously size, but it also means that the tomato will blossom and bear fruit kind of all at once, whereas indeterminate tomato will do a little at a time, and as it grows, it'll put out new blossoms. If you're growing hydroponically indoors, you really need to find a dwarf variety. They aren't nearly as common, and so you can't get them for every seed catalog, but determinate or indeterminate is going to be way too big for a small system. Tomatoes, like peppers, need warmth and a lot of light, but if it's too hot, it can kill the pollen and your blossoms won't set. The flowers do need to be pollinated, so if you're outdoors, the bugs will take care of that. If you're growing hydroponically inside, you will have to learn how to do that yourself, but it's pretty easy and quite satisfying. You may have noticed those red letters down on the second line. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a key for that? Well, of course there is. So this is part of reading a seed catalog. Those are kinds of resistances that the different items have been bred for. Virtually everything in the Solanaceae family are what's referred to as heavy feeders. So now let's move on to peppers. I haven't grown a lot of peppers. I'm not a big fan, but I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, none of them get really huge in terms of plants like tomatoes do. Obviously, there are sweet peppers and hot peppers and oh my God, I've gone to hell peppers. All of them have a bush habit. And if you can protect them from frost, you can actually keep them for an extended period of time. I had one set that lasted 3 years hydroponically indoors. The growth habit of eggplants is more similar to peppers than tomatoes. They do need a lot of heat and tend to attract a lot of pests. There are 2 varieties of dwarf eggplants that are actually beautiful plants you can grow hydroponically indoors. Now let's talk about potatoes. Potatoes don't require as much heat as other members of the Solanaceae family, which means that you can plant them earlier in spring. They also don't require full sun, so if you have an area that has more shade, you can try them there. But I always recommend growing potatoes in containers because digging them out of the ground can be laborious and things have a tendency to eat them. We don't grow potatoes from seeds. While it's certainly possible to do that, you can't buy potato seeds. Instead, what you buy are seed potatoes. There are a lot of different varieties that you wouldn't find in the grocery store. But let me just say, you don't have to buy seed potatoes. You can buy potatoes from the grocery store if they're organic and grow them yourself. So I wanted to show you kind of how that looks. So this is a russet baking potato from the store. These little spots here are eyes. You've all seen them. It's perfectly natural. If those continue to grow, you can see how the eye starts popping out. There are little nubby places there where there will be root structures coming out and branching structures. See, this one would be primed to put in the ground. You can also see the leaves starting to pop up. I'm going to experiment with hydroponics. So I've got these two that I grew, and you can see how the roots have started to grow down there like that. This is how potatoes grow. Usually you'll put them in the ground, but I'm going to try it with hydroponics because I like to experiment with things. That's it for your in-depth lesson on growing Solanaceae from seeds, or seed potatoes as the case may be. So have a look at the other in-depth lessons on seed families, and we can move on to lesson 2, planting, and let's grow some food.